Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Theo, and I love to talk about horror movies. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Nosferatu. Alright, so Nosferatu, the remake, the retelling, whatever, the reimagining, however you want to put it in this day and age. Do I think it's good? Yeah, it's pretty fucking solid, if I'm being straight up with you. It is a very, really solid adaptation of this film. Now, if you're a fan of horror, which if you're on this channel, you probably are in some way, shape, or form. But you cannot say you are a horror fan and you have not watched the original Nosferatu. So the original Nosferatu was a 1922 silent film adaptation, and it was supposed to be a Dracula vampire-like movie. But in that era, a lot of the prints were said to be destroyed by a German lawsuit because of Florence Stoker's lawsuit against the movie and the rights to it, because she claimed that it copied too much of Bram Stoker's Dracula movie or book. And by God, that's a fucking good thing for all of us horror lovers, because, we wouldn't be here talking about this film that we currently got in 2024 from Robert Eggers. It has been said that there is no indication or evidence that the film has been destroyed in some way, shape, or form, but the preserved rest of the film that was put back together is in a museum in the lost archives of film and movie history. So what is this reimagining? What is the new Nosferatu film? Is it a direct sequel or a direct reimagining from the original? Is it a complete retelling? Is it a sequel? The answer to that question is it is a very close reimagining, and it covers a lot of the basis and a lot of the key points of the original film. It's about a love triangle, basically, of gothic proportion and dark cinema proportion, which I think is fucking incredible. But we'll talk about that here in a few. And it really takes a lot of the original key points of the Nosferatu from 1922, and Robert Eggers works them really well into a new triangle love story, I guess is what I'm going to call it. So the casting lineup for this is actually a really stacked cast in this movie. And it starts with Bill Skarsgård, and then it goes to Lily Rose Depp, and then we have Nicholas Hoult, and then William Dafoe, and then we have Ralph Ineson, and there's just a ton of really big names in this movie. So the love triangle, as I'm calling it, it really starts with Lily Rose Depp's character and Nicholas Hoult's character. Their names are Helen and Tom, and their last name is Hutter, and it has to do with a love triangle bond between Helen and Count Orlok, or Dracula. And Thomas, he gets this new job, and he's going to go out to this castle way, way off in Transylvania, and he's going to start working for Count Orlok. And basically, one thing comes to another, and he ends up selling his wife to Count Orlok, and that's where the love triangle really starts, because now Count Orlok believes that that is his wife and she belongs to him, to where Tom still thinks that that's not the case. But the reason why she was sold to Count Orlok in the first place is because he was buying a house. That's the original reason why Tom went up to Transylvania, was to look after everything, sell him the house, and all that jazz. And he ends up being hypnotized and sells off his wife for a bag of gold. And I know all that sounds really, really bad, but this is filmed in the setting of the 13th century. So let's just keep that in mind as we continue full circle. And really, from that point, you get a lot of really dark and extremely terrifying moments of just atmospheric proportion from all angles. Like this film is one of the most atmospheric films I've seen in a very long time. That just kind of pulls your attention to the screen and kind of makes you search for what is going to happen next on the screen, while at the meantime it's got these eerie, like, just vibes to it. You're watching the movie, and then you're looking at, like, around, and you're wondering what's going to happen, and then there's like boom, and there's like boom, and there's like, oh, there's a jump scare. Now this is going to happen. And it just really, really good job at that. But as I ramble, it has these very dark and eerie moments But at the same time, this kind of starts that love triangle of like a battle between Count Orlok and Tom and Helen, and they're all trying to figure out this relationship of whatever this is. Helen believes that this happened because she fell out of love with Tom, and Tom doesn't believe he actually sold off his wife and that she still belongs to him. And then there's just this big circle of chain of emotions. But this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to go into any more detail than what I've covered already, because if I continue forward, I'm probably going to ruin a lot of it for you, and I don't want to do that. But I am going to continue on with my actual review, so let's do that. So let's start with my positives. The positives on this movie are going to be very detailed. I really love the casting choices in this movie. I believe that there couldn't have been a better ensemble of cast put together to play the roles of which they are. They all capture every bit of their characters, especially Bill Skarsgård and everything he does. Like, I have never seen an actor of recent date get into the characterization and feel of the characters they play other than Bill Horror Daddy Skarsgård. So I say that because he's completely unrecognizable. Bill Skarsgård's character of Count Orlok in this movie, he is completely unrecognizable. I could not tell in any way that it was him. And I tried. Like, I was trying to pinpoint like Pennywise shit, and I was like, yeah, there it is right there. And I couldn't do it. Like the makeup effects, and I don't know if it was CGI or practical. I feel like it was a lot of practical effects, knowing the director and how his past movies are. I feel like that there's a lot of practical effects that went into this, and he is completely unrecognizable. And then you put his voice into it too. Sold. He doesn't sound anything like Pennywise. Doesn't sound anything like him in any of the past roles he's ever done. He sounds like this just possessed vampire demon that you're not going to understand. I will also say that I really enjoyed Lily Rose Depp's character in this. I've only seen her in a couple other things. I've seen her in some of the Kevin Smith movies that she's played in for like the side roles and like the main character of, was that one, Yoga Hosers or something like that. I've seen her in those, but I watched The Idol on Max and I enjoyed her in that. And then this is definitely her comeuppance, I believe. I think this is what's going to put her out there, because she really gets in the character in this movie too. And she loves to, like, it captivates you. Like, she grabs your attention every time she's on the screen. Another positive for me, I absolutely love the cinematography in this movie. If I had to choose for 2024, a best cinematography, maybe even of the last like 15 years, I would probably put it on this movie. And that's over like Endgame, that's over like Avengers, that's over any Marvel movie that's been made or any Disney movie that's been made. The cinematography in this movie is hands down some of the best you will ever see. And then along with that, it has so much atmosphere behind the cinematography. Like I was saying before, it really grabs your attention in ways that like you're trying to see what's going to happen on the screen, and they just kind of like boom, and it hits you. Or somebody says something that you weren't expecting to be seen or be said, or something happens out in the far distance or right in front of you that you weren't expecting. And the sounds and the soundtrack, it all just comes together with the cinematography so perfectly. And for my other positive here, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I really enjoy how close it sticks to the original key points of the original 1922 film. And I'm saying that, but one of my mixed feelings or bad feelings about this is going to kind of negate that a little bit. But I really love that that Robert Eggers stuck to the roots of the original movie, picked out the key points, but then turned it into his own type of movie that we all know and love from all the stuff he's done in the last, 15, 20 years. It really puts a good spin on this and makes you want to go back and watch it again. So now for my mixed feelings, and I don't really have any negative feelings in this. I guess you could kind of count this as a negative, but I didn't really care for the ending, and I know that's what I was just saying. It's going to kind of contradict what I just said, but it didn't really feel, I guess, for all the build up for the rest of the movie, that it captured what the ending should have been. It just kind of like happened and then it was over and you're left like, okay, is that the end of the movie? And then the credits came on, you're like, oh, okay, well, fuck, that's the end of the movie, I guess. Would I suggest you go and watch Nosferatu? Abso-fucking-lutely. Go treat yourself to one of the best movie experiences I've seen in a very long time. And this, this coming from Robert Eggers, he just keeps pumping out great film after great film after great film. And if you watch my horror-related news, you'll know that I am hella excited for his next two movies because he is jumping right on board with the Wolfman movie and he's making his own spin-off on it, which I'm really excited for. But then on top of that, this man is going to try his hand at either a sequel or a remake of one of the greatest cult classics ever made, David Bowie and Jim Henson's Labyrinth movie. So just a lot of great things coming from Robert Eggers. I hope we continue to see all the great stuff he gives to the horror community and the subgenres that it falls in. Really, really go watch this movie. I'm going to give this a solid 5 out of 5 for me. This will be my first time ever doing that. And I know that that's rare for a lot of people, but I like this movie a lot. I would recommend definitely going to see it, buying it, whatever. All right, folks, that'll do it for this one for me. I really appreciate all the support you guys give. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoy my videos, go ahead and drop a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Remember to check under your beds and stay safe out there.